Good morning. Ah, hello, friends. May morning, springtime green, birdsong, and life. You know, whether you're in the countryside or whether you're in the city, it's just there's something about the effulgence of springtime. But, you know, if we're busy, just caught up in our own inner world, we can miss or forget or ignore. But if you really give your attention, there's something about the effulgence of springtime that might remind us that nature isn't exocentric, or at least isn't exterior to us. Nature isn't something that we enjoy or look at or observe. It's like nature is everything, you know. We are that nature just as much as the greening, growing trees are that nature. Nature is, you know, that which animates us. And that nature is that which we are somehow a mirror of in our own capacity to experience. You know, the way in which we are nature experiencing itself. You know, we are nature's eyes, nature's nose, nature's ears. That sense of, you know, letting ourselves, letting the springtime be an opportunity to allow ourselves to belong to nature, to everything. We tend to belong to the wrong things, or try to belong to the wrong things. We try to belong to just little bits. You know, I want to belong to this group, not that group. I want to belong to a certain idea of myself, but not to other ideas of myself. Yeah. And somehow the real invitation, if you're going to belong, you know, it's like either don't belong to anything or belong to absolutely everything. And within that, of course, we have our affiliations, you know, and affinities. So, of course, we might align with a certain group in various ways, but socially, okay, politically, okay, but not existentially. Existentially belong to everything and nothing simultaneously. Let your mind belong to nothing, so that you keep free of all the fixations, and let your heart belong to everything. So that sense of real kinship with all beings, with all of nature, real belonging, is that condition in which you can rest in a sense of completeness. There's nothing you need to do or be in order to achieve that completeness. You already are it, you know, most fundamentally. So that's what the springtime offers. I mean, that's what every moment offers, but there's something, as I say, about the greening and growing of the spring that seems to make that particularly, make that invitation particularly clear, potent. All right, this is Sangha Live. Welcome. If you're new here, then welcome. If you're regular, equally welcome. Couple of things I'll before we start. One is I was looking at the statistics, and pretty much, I mean, every single week there's the most people on a Monday, and a bit less on Tuesday, and a bit less on Wednesday, and a bit less on Thursday, and a bit less on Friday. And then we jump up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's like maybe you're just here because you fancy a Monday meditation. But my assumption is that people come on a Monday with good intentions for the week. and then the good intentions slope off. So my invitation, suggestion to you is, if you plan to be here all week, show up. Just whatever's going on, it doesn't matter. Don't let the first thought in the morning, the thought, oh, I'd like to sleep a bit more, the thought, oh, I don't have time today. If you genuinely don't have time, you genuinely have an appointment, okay. But if it's just your own mind that brings you here on Monday full of enthusiasm, and then and that wears off at some point during the week, you know what the easiest thing, just to commit. And then whatever your mind says, whatever objections you come up with, just ignore them. Just be here every morning by about 5 to 8 or 5 to 7 or 5 to whatever time it is where you are. It's so much easier that way, so that it's not a decision. It's not a decision to make every morning. If it's a decision to make, you can go one way or the other. Don't make it that complicated. Don't let it be a decision. Let it be a commitment. Right now. Oh yeah, I'm just here every day. Okay. Second thing, I thought we'd be, on the one hand, very simple this week, but on the other hand, actually go deep with it, and that's just to that I just reflect a little each morning on breath. On the one hand, breath is so simple and foundational in meditation practice. And on the other hand, even though it's so simple, I often feel like, wow, after 35 years of practice, I'm still just discovering so much about breath, internally and externally. So there's ways that we can explore somehow just the mechanics of the breath and the ways of attending to breath. But there's also ways we can explore the way the breath really is an expression of everything, that everything shares the same nature of that breath, that sort of generative moment of arising, sustaining, fading. And so to get to know your breath really is to get to know everything. So that's a little bit our theme for this week. Getting to know the breath, getting to know the world, getting to know it all without going anywhere, without doing anything, without creating any complexity. And within that spirit of belonging, breath is a great reflection on belonging. Belonging to the world, like I was speaking about at the beginning. The way we belong, the way what we call inside and outside are constantly interchanging through breath. So this morning, though, I thought Monday we'd just begin with the two elements of breath that Buddha emphasized, right? In the Anapanasati Sutta particularly, which is where he gives the most detailed and brilliant kind of exposition of all the different, or the 16 different elements that he lays out of attending to breath. But the two particular ones at the beginning, the first is just really sensing the whole, the length of the breath, right? The beginning, middle, end. Doesn't matter whether the breath is rough or short, long, rough or smooth, long or short, deep or shallow. No control, no attempt to breathe a certain way, right? Natural breath, but real attention to the feel. He doesn't make a fuss in his instructions anywhere, as far as I can see, anywhere in any of the text about when the one's attending to nostrils or whether one's attending to chest or whether one's attending to belly. No fuss. But he does make a sense of knowing the length, the fullness of the breath. I would say, for most of us, even though you may have had instruction to use nostril as a place of attention, for the vast majority of us, it's actually much more helpful to drop your attention down lower, because we tend to be already a little overstimulated in the head center, and your practice then tends to remain a bit heady if you attend. So And just to feel like, to really focus on having a belly that's soft and round. I was recently talking to somebody who has about 30 years of practice. And the person had just noticed that their belly, after 30 years of practice, had relaxed in a new kind of way, and that their breath was more easeful and fuller. You know, a lot of us have some kind of unconscious retention in our belly or diaphragm that we don't know about, and we breathe in a way that holds tension. So just that, the intention to relax, relax, relax. Let the belly be soft and round. Let the breath be natural and long. Sorry, not long. Let the breath be natural, however it is. Actually, each breath is different. We can have imagined, I want to have a particular, a slow breath or a deep breath or something. But each breath is different. Some are long, some are short. And a long one can be followed by a short one. You know? So just allowing breath to just do its thing. Just do its thing. So that's the first thing. Really, the commitment, right, to knowing the fullness of breath. And I'll emphasize that a little bit in the instruction. And then the second, that he then goes on to really emphasize knowing what it could translate one way as knowing the breath throughout the whole body. Right? So we know breathing happens in the lungs, but actually the feeling of breath is everywhere. It's like you can, as your sensitivity deepens, as you relax more, it's as if you can feel every cell sort of expanding with the in-breath and then softening with the out-breath. The other way to translate it is knowing the full body of the breath. So either way, whether it's knowing the breath through the full body or whether it's knowing the full body of the breath, it's kind of the same, right? That sense of really allowing the feeling of breathing, the expansive in-breath and the relaxing out-breath, allowing that to sort of permeate the whole field of your experience, the whole body, but actually the whole field of experience, the whole field of awareness. Yeah. So I'll speak about that a little more as we sit. And then just one more thing that I'll say, which is that it's often because that we often carry this retention. And even though I just said about really allowing a natural breath, it's often really helpful, right, at the beginning of meditation to spend maybe just 2 or 3 breaths to really, really intentionally expand, like to breathe deeply, but not in a way that puffs up the chest, but a way that really lets your belly fill out. It's like you're breathing into your lower belly. In fact, you might feel as if you're breathing right down into your sexual organs, right? Or at least you're below your navel. And then sighing the out breath. Yeah, that's why one of the reasons I chant at the beginning of sitting, it has the same effect, right? Namo Tassa, opening the chest and the throat and the belly and letting the voice just come out and lengthen the out breath and feel the resonance down in the lower belly as you breathe out and let it all soften and relax like this, The words are secondary to the physiological aspect of it. Yeah, I'm assuming you're doing this with me. I hope you are. Okay, feel free to make a little sound, even just an ah, like a really open-throated, open-chested ah on the out breath. Let's do a big one together, and then we'll start sitting. okay. Feel your way into your posture. And let your legs and buttocks really sink into the floor, ground, cushion, chair. Feel the uprightness of your spine. A little curve maybe in your lower back, a feeling of uplift. So the belly isn't compressed. And then rolling your shoulders a little just so the chest is open. And then just letting everything relax, letting your shoulder blades sort of slide down your back. Letting arms and hands rest. Letting facial muscles soften. Letting breath come and go freely. And letting your attention soak into the feel of breathing. You're not relying on thoughts of the breath or images of the breath, even though they might arise, just let them be background. You're resting your attention into the feel of breathing. Into the expansion of the in-breath. Into the relaxation of the out-breath. Into that moment of stillness between breaths. Into this breath. Really feel the beginning of the in-breath, the involuntary muscular movement down in your belly. It's the natural gentle swelling of your belly and diaphragm up into your chest. And then the way that the in-breath, like a ball that's been thrown into the air, just gets to a natural place at the top of the in-breath and then starts to fall. Really feeling the beginning of the out-breath. And a feel of softening and relaxing in all your cells. And the length, the duration of the out-breath and the end of it. Just that fading away into a moment of nothing, of stopping. And you can leave everything else alone. Leave the sounds alone. Leave the world alone. Leave your usual concerns alone. So that whatever thoughts or ideas or sensations or sounds appear, you can just come and go within your breathing. Within this fusion of breath and awareness. And just keep offering your attention, giving your attention, pointing your attention into this fusion between breath and awareness. And if your attention keeps getting caught up, then just doing that again and again and again. And fusion between breath and awareness through relaxing, through resting your attention into your breath. And if your attention's a little more stable, maybe you can let that sense of fusion become more and more. Where in all your experience is contained within this fusion. Where in breath and its fusion with awareness is the whole of reality. Sounds happen here. Thoughts come and go here. All of life is met and expressed right here. And the dynamism and expansion of the in-breath. And the relaxation and softening of the out-breath. And the stillness and peace between breaths. Whenever you notice some tensions, like maybe right now, some subtle tension in your face, or torso or hands, see if you can just allow those tensions or invite them to melt into the out-breath. Seeing if it's possible to be here in a way that's undefended. Nothing to hold on to. Just letting this fusion between awareness and breath do all the holding. Letting it be an open container, a welcoming space into which all sounds, all thoughts, all experience can relax. So the feel of breathing is one of being a vast open container. One that transcends ideas of inner and outer. One that's fuller than just the biological sense of breathing happening in the lungs. Breathing, filling awareness. Awareness, filling the breath. If you're not familiar with these strange sounds, it's just the frogs in the pond outside my cabin. Last few minutes of the sitting. If you can really be wholehearted. It's letting everything fold itself into this fusion of breath and awareness. The expansiveness of each in-breath making room for whatever's here. The relaxation of each out-breath. Letting everything come to rest. The stillness at the end of each out-breath. Inviting everything to dissolve. May we all expand into being who we are. May we all relax into our true nature. May we all breathe freely. And on the one hand, like I say, breath, attention to breath, mindfulness of breath, awareness in the breath. It's very fundamental in meditation, very simple. And on the other hand, though, very often I think people are trying to subtly control the breathing or force their attention into the breathing rather than relaxing into it, etc. So my hope is that giving the instruction in this kind of way might be helpful. Even if you've been practicing for some time, I think there can be many ways in which our practice shows us various fixed ideas or limitations or tensions that we've been bringing, the tensions from the rest of our life, that we then bring them to our meditation practice. All right, so that was meditation. Just a reminder that we have some time for questions. Just the very brief reminder that all of this is offered freely and that takes a lot of hard work from a dedicated team at Sangha Live. And there's no income for Sangha Live other than your support. So please, I'd just like to offer my appreciation in advance for that support. In whatever way you feel able and willing to offer support here, please do. And there's a link in the email that we've got about this, and I'll put the link up maybe at the end as well if I can. But basically, it's sangha.live/donate, and your support is very much what allows this to keep happening. Support you the best we can. We ask you to support us the best you can, and like that. It's a kind of beautiful model. It's a bit of a precarious model sometimes, but if we all step up to the best of our capacities and intentions, then it's a beautiful model. All right. If you have questions, I see Jane just posted one here. Then please do like Jane just did. If you write question in capitals at the beginning of your question, then I can see that it's a question and it makes the other chat stuff. Jane says, thanks for the stats on attendance. Any stats on Sangha Live finances? I'm particularly interested in what percentage of people offer dana and the average amounts of dana. I think I was just talking about this last week at the board meeting. I can't remember I don't know what the actual amounts are. I can maybe find out sometime this week. But I think it's usually between about 20 and 30% in any given week of daily meditations. I think it's between 20 and 30%, depending on the week. So actually, that's pretty good. A lot of things that are offered on this kind of basis, dana basis, free basis, a lot of them have a very low percentage. I know people who do podcasts, for example, and that are sort of freely offered, but they have a Patreon account or something, and typically about 5% of people support that. So 20 to 30% is pretty good. But of course, and so, I don't want to give too much statistics. It's not because I don't want to be transparent about it, but I think it can lead to judgment for some of us. If you're one of the 20 or 30% you give regularly, sometimes we can start, what about those? Why aren't they giving it or something? So the statistics, while they're interesting to some, in a way aren't so important. I really also want it to be okay. Some people, who knows what their financial situation is, can't afford to offer. That's okay. If you can't afford to offer anything and you appreciate what's offered here, great. That's why we have this model, so that people can benefit without pressure, without expectation. And then similarly, if one feels moved to offer, and then you offer. And you offer whatever it is, a big amount, a small amount, an amount that might look small but be a big amount to you, etc., etc. So that sense of each one according to their wish, according to their heart, according to their means, etc. All right. Eleanor says, you talked about commitment earlier. Can you talk a little more about commitment in the larger sense of our life? What are we devoted to, committed to? How should we approach commitment without being exclusive or narrow-minded? So it's different, I think, for different people. Some people find commitment, some people commit very easily, and even too easily, too rigidly, too fixatedly. And then that becomes a source of tension. So for some people, their work or their practice around commitment is learning to soften it, learning to say no sometimes, learning that, the rule, it doesn't have to be a narrow, blinkered highway, etc. And then sometimes our idea, other people are not necessarily committed in that way, but that's their idea of commitment, that it has to be total. And therefore, for example, in a meditation context, you sit Monday and you sit Tuesday, and then for whatever reason you miss Wednesday, and then it's like, oh, hopeless, failed, no good anymore. So you don't even bother coming Thursday or Friday because you feel like you failed because you missed Wednesday. Right? So then often it's, oh, yeah, lose the commitment. You miss Wednesday. Okay, you missed Wednesday. You can still, and so you can see that in other areas of life as well. If there's some wavering of the kind of the what you've committed to, then people easily generate the idea that it's hopeless and that there's a sense of failure, etc., that go with it, and don't get back on the horse, as it were. And for others, you can see, oh, there's a fear of commitment or a resistance to commitment, and it's often tied with some kind of leftover sort of issues with parental authority or school authority early in life, etc. And some sort of pushing back against, some sort of nobody tells me what to do kind of thing. And, that's understandable. I really remember developing a lot of that as a teenager. And yet it also, if you don't explore that, you can cause yourself just a lot of trouble and tension, just that sort of pushing back against commitment, which in the end isn't about anybody else trying to coerce you. Again, if you look at the commitment to practice or the commitment to anything else in your life that is good, it's like, so that's, in a way, is the inquiry. What gets in the way of me just staying committed to something in a way that's heartful, right, and not rigid? What gets in the way? And that's going to be different for different people, but it's worth exploring. So, Eleanor, to you and anyone else listening, just to give them a sense, what do you notice as I'm speaking about it in that way? And then you might just make room. As you sort of ask yourself that question, what gets in the way of me committing in a way that's sort of steady and simple? For others, so it might be some of those things I mentioned. And if so, just give some air to them. Right? It's like, are there any memories or tensions or emotional nuances that come up as you explore that? Yeah. For others, it might be, I don't know what to commit to. There's so many things. Should I commit to this? Should I commit to that? And one feels sort of overwhelmed by choice, or, I was just about to say that, and then you typed it, or fear of making the wrong choices. So this might sound a little strange, but I would say the idea that there's a right choice and a wrong choice is a delusion. There is no right choice and wrong choice. It's just the playing it out, the idea that, I could choose that, but then this might go wrong. And if I choose that, then that. It's like, don't make it that complicated. Dispel the illusion of choice. Forget choice. There's no choice. Don't bother about choosing anything, right? Instead of which, it's rather, we're constantly faced by what seems to be a choice. What shall I do today? Etc. What shall I do when I've got free time? What choices shall I make in professionally or in my relationship or with how I spend my time, etc., etc. But actually what's happening is we're in the midst of life and we're being affected by various influences, right? The things around us in the sensory field that we're attracted to or afraid of, the historical currents of our own conditioning that are move us and towards what we're attracted to or afraid of, etc. And sometimes it's just clear, and then there's no choice because it's just clear. I just feel attracted to that, or that feels right, or that looks good to me, and I go in that direction if I can. Right? There's no choice. It's just, we use the language of choice, of course. That seemed good, so I chose that. But actually, it's like you were giving ourselves an overinflated sense of agency. What's actually happening is here are the influencing factors, inwardly and outwardly. The attraction towards one and the possibility within it seems obvious, and so we go in that direction. And then we say, I chose, as if it was some kind of completely objective process. And then in other moments, it's not clear. There's this and this, and I don't know, and I don't know. And then we feel like the not knowing what to do is a wrong thing, and we need to get past that to making a choice. I would say, just, you don't know. The truth is you don't know. At some point you will. At some point you will. Either ahead of time or because force of circumstance at some moment mean you just have to do one or the other. And that's been the case all through your life. You've just done one or the other. And you look back, you might look back and say, oh, I made the wrong choice. But don't do one. You couldn't possibly really have made any other choice, could you? You can infer, oh, I could have if I'd done that. But actually, if you wound the universe back to that exact moment, right, everything would have been the same influencing factors would have been there, the same inward conditioning would have been there. So we would have done the same thing, because what you did at the time was the thing that seemed the clearest to you or the best to you. You never do something thinking, oh, I think that's going to be bad, I'll do that. you find yourself going in a direction because in that moment it seems to be the best thing. And you can never know more than that. You can never know more than that. So the seeming choices you've made in the past, maybe there weren't really choices. I know that sounds a little strange. It sounds almost insulting to one's sense of agency. But they were more just that responsiveness to conditions that you did according to the best information you had, or a best sense of listening to what you wanted, etc. And that's the same now. So it's like you just listening and responding. Listening and responding. That's what you can do. You can receive as best you can, sit and respond, receive and respond. And within that, the more that you let yourself receive and respond, the more you see that the idea, even though we might still continue to use a language of choice, that really the idea of choice is neither necessary, nor helpful, nor true. Neither necessary, nor helpful, nor true. And that's a great liberation, because then the feeling is no choices, just receiving and responding. And it feels kind of playful and fluid. And the idea that I could get it wrong is gone. You can't get it wrong. So I know that can be challenging, that idea for some. So I leave it with you. Make use of it if in whatever way you can. Yeah. All right. All right, friends. Well, nice to be here for another week. Nice to see you all, your familiar names. And yeah, exactly, Ruth. Receiving and responding, a bit like the breath. Yes, but that's what we'll touch on the rest of this week, just different nuances of the way breath is instructive about how to do everything, i.e. let it happen by itself. Again, that's confronting. What do you mean? I've got to. But maybe we don't need to be as active, or even worse, proactive, as we think we do. Receptive and responsive. When we're receptive, there's a natural responsiveness. We think that if I'm not active or proactive, where did that word come from? I'm sure it only exists for about 10 years. It's as if it wasn't bad enough trying to be active. Now I've got to be proactive. No. We think the opposite of being active is going to be being passive, but it needn't be. Actually, to drop being active is to be receptive, receptive, receptive. Just like, as Ruth says, we receive the in-breath, and then there's a response of the out-breath, and the response is natural. The response is effortless. The response is we're not pushing for a response. In it, Priya. Yeah. All right, friends. Thank you for your presence and your practice and your support. See you tomorrow.